I will now call back to order the regular meeting of the Lake Forest School District 67 Board of Education for August 21st, 2018. May I have a roll call, please, Eileen?
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Mr. Novitt?
Here.
Mrs. Sands?
Here.
Dr. Lemke?
Here.
Mr. Borkowski?
Here.
Mr. Folker?
Here.
Mrs. Levert sent her apologies. She cannot attend tonight.
Thank you.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. On behalf of the District 67 Board of Education, I'd like to welcome everyone, students, teachers, staff, and parents back to school. Hopefully it's been a relaxing and fun summer for our students and their families. Special welcome tonight to Ike Vanderveld, who is a local Boy Scout who is here joining us as part of his communication in the Citizenship in the Community merit badge. Is that right, Ike? Well, welcome. 4 years ago, this board approved a new mission and vision statement for the district, along with 6 related milestones. The mission and vision remain the guiding light behind many of our decisions, and the milestones help us keep on track. I was recently asked how I define success within our district. Achieving our defined vision and doing so both quickly and in a fiscally responsible manner is one way that I evaluate our success. Tonight, I'd like to take a minute to review the District 67 mission, vision, milestones with a few examples of progress that we've made, as well as areas where work continues. While most of us are familiar with parts of the mission, vision, and milestones, I think it's important to periodically review our desired state in its entirety to ensure that we're focused on the whole goal and not just discrete portions of it. I believe the start of the school year is a good time for this quick review. First, our mission. At District 67, our mission is to inspire and empower all students to maximize their growth as learners and develop a balanced sense of self, steadfast resiliency, and deep respect for others. Our vision reads, to be an innovative learning community that educates without boundaries, where all students cultivate their minds, create enduring connections, and discover their passions. As part of our vision, we hold certain core values especially important. These core values are shown on this slide. Rather than read them verbatim, I will point out certain phrases that I believe capture our values. Every child maximizes each student's growth, actively engaged, socially, emotionally, physically, and intellectually, and we attract, develop, retain, invest in passionate and effective teaching professionals, respect, and high integrity. The highlighted words and phrases begin to create some overarching themes, and this is by design. Every single student is emphasized. We're not simply teaching to the average student or the middle of the bell curve. And while achievement is often used in schools as the most important yardstick for how a student is doing, we believe that growth is equally, if not more, important for students. Also, our desired state is to educate the whole person, which includes the core academic subjects, but also includes much more, such as resiliency, respect, and social emotional well-being. And we place a heavy emphasis on students pursuing their passions. We know to achieve these lofty goals, we need to be innovative, and we need to take risks, and we need to be okay with failure sometimes. To keep us on track, we identified 6 milestones, which are shown on the next slide. The milestones are achievement, instruction, assessment, talent, partnership, and environment. For some of these milestones, it is very easy to see where progress is being made and where we are headed. For example, in the area of instruction, the inquiry approach, also sometimes referred to as project-based learning, has been a major shift in our delivery model, and it continues to be integrated into more and more areas of instruction. Also, the curriculum in most of our core classes, language, arts, and math, have been completely overhauled. As well, every student now has access to co-taught classes. This is part of our drive towards meeting every student where he or she is, and the related efforts to increase differentiation within the classroom, which is a recognized best practice that we are pursuing. In the area of talent, our hiring processes have been improved greatly, and we're much more consistent now than we were 5 years ago. We're spending more money on professional development than ever before, and more of it is becoming job embedded. In the past 2 years, almost our entire language arts staff has attended the Lucy Calkins professional development sessions, and going forward, our staff is taking ongoing professional development in the area of social emotional well-being, an area which we have identified as critical to our success. In the area of environment, we truly are reimagining our workspaces for the benefit of all students, with examples including the renovated Haskins 2.0, the cube, the entryways, and the recent classroom transformation, which began over the summer. In this phase, all core classrooms receive new furniture, lighting, and AV systems. The environment transformation will continue with more projects on the horizon, including evaluating our science labs, looking at our special classrooms, and other spaces in the school building. I believe the assessment milestone is one of the most exciting and revolutionary areas of our vision. While much work has been done in this area, some of the most exciting and visible work in this area is yet to come. Over the past year or so, our administration has been in the process of truly redefining what a school report card is. Not simply reformatting the information, but revamping what content is included. In addition to the traditional grades, the new report card, which we call the personalized student profile, includes non-traditional information such as student growth, engagement, and other social emotional characteristics, all things that are mentioned in the achievement milestone. Some of these characteristics are difficult to measure and difficult to include on a report card, but we are striving for greatness, and progress is being made. Last year, our parents received the initial versions of the new report card. Look for continued refinements this year. So as we enter the 5th year of our vision, how are we doing? Are we achieving what we set out to accomplish? I know that our district looks very different than it did 5 years ago. The buildings and learning spaces certainly look different. The staff teaches differently. The curriculum looks different. The way we assess our students is different. And the report card that parents receive is in the midst of a major transformation. So we are definitely making progress towards our ambitious vision. But we are not there yet. What's next? The new report card continues to be a work in progress. Our building transformation has a long way to go. We're in the process of continuing to refine how to measure our success as we begin to develop a data dashboard with key performance indicators. We know social emotional learning is critically important, but we're still figuring out what that actually means and how to teach it optimally to all students, no less how to measure its impact and student growth associated with it. Our students are more engaged, but the data suggests we have room to grow in this area as well as the related area of connectedness. And our achievement milestones calls us to be nationally recognized. What exactly does that mean, and how do we accomplish that? So while we celebrate the progress we have made, much hard work remains before we truly say we've achieved our desired state. But while acknowledging the hard work that is yet to be done, I'm incredibly proud of what has been accomplished, and I'm very optimistic about the future. This board, in collaboration with our superintendent, the staff, and especially the teachers, remains committed to accelerating towards this vision and continuing to do so in a fiscally responsible manner. Our district continues to be one of a small number of school districts across the nation to achieve the AAA bond rating, but I will leave our financial overview for another report. This is our vision, our desired state. We will continue to push aggressively towards reaching it, and we will continue to use it as a yardstick against which we measure our success. That concludes the President's report. We now move on to the Superintendent's report. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. One of the things that strikes me is the level of engagement and involvement it requires for our school board members. That sometimes they're called volunteers, but in fact they're much more than volunteers. They are public servants and public representatives. And in order to create a report like that, it takes a tremendous amount of learning
working? What I'm really proud about of the mission, vision, milestones is we are doing that stuff. This isn't just something that is on a piece of paper somewhere, but we believe in it and we are doing it. Our staff knows what it is. And anybody that's been involved in organizations for any period of time knows how hard it is to get any organization, private, public, nonprofit, profit, whatever it might be, to actually strive towards the mission, the vision, the milestones, much less internalize them and believe in them. So some of the things that we have done this summer illustrate the financial commitment that the board has and also underlines the importance that we place on our learning environments for our kids and for our teachers. One of the things that was a surprise over the past year and a half was that our teachers came back and said, you know, lighting really makes a difference to us. See nodding in the crowd out there that yes, the lights are really important to us. And part of the reason for that is the change in the instructional model that Mr. Porkowski just mentioned, that we want to decentralize the attention in the classroom. And what changing lights do is they create different opportunities for different moods within the same classroom space. And I love to see our teachers nod when I talk about this stuff. So the front of the classroom can be calm and low light, and the back can be bright and energetic. And why is that important? Because kids can be working on vastly different activities in those spaces. So over 140 core classrooms in the district in one summer got all new lights in them that teachers can control the way they want to. We've also, in the entire district, K-8, we have new furniture, again, in these core classrooms. And I think I'd be safe to say that we probably ruffled some feathers in how much stuff we eliminated in some of our classrooms. And I'm happy to see our staff not nodding when I say that. But we ask people to part with some of their stuff. And why is that? Because a cluttered classroom takes up energy and space for kids' attention and also for their ability to be mobile within the classroom. New AV, audiovisual, so projectors are in classrooms across the district now. Those are new, so you don't have to turn the lights on now in order to see what's projected on the wall. There are enough lumens so you can actually see what's going on. Cherokee has a new playground. And anybody interested in the ribbon cutting, 8 a.m. Friday at Cherokee. If you've never seen a ribbon cutting thing for a playground, it's one of the nicest things that I've ever been a part of as an educator. There is just something that warms your heart about seeing kids on a playground. It's super energizing. And it's not the most expensive thing we do, but it affects every single kid in the building. Every day. They're always energized by it. A lot less entertaining are things like boilers and air handlers and electric panels, but they provide learning environments that are cool or warm or comfortable, and air quality makes a difference. We have a new roof at Sheridan. We also have new intercom and speaker systems, a really important safety consideration that we hopefully will never need to use. But one of the things that we did in our tests was when we get on the PA and say, look, we have an emergency, can everybody in the building actually hear what's going on? And our system was old, and there were parts we were constantly having difficulty with that. Another thing that increasing accessibility, ADA, which means ramps and lifts, and we've hit a couple bumps in the road, no pun intended, when it comes to our lifts, because the new lifts aren't all that much different than the old lifts, and we're vexed by that, and we're trying to figure out how to get around that. In the coming weeks and months, we're going to be looking at a complete redesign of our middle school science labs. Again, it'll affect every single student that comes through our district in grades 5 through 8, a really big deal. Finally, Mr. Borkowski also mentioned things that KPIs, key performance indicators. So one of the things that the boards, both boards, high school and the elementary, have asked us to do is to devote, as administrators, time and attention to make a recommendation for indicators that will move us towards accomplishing our milestones, things that we can measure and see over a 5 or a 10-year period. And we spent, the entire administrative team spent an entire day last week in this room working on creating that draft. And so we're going to process and process and process that and bring, by the end of September, each of the boards a draft for those key performance indicators. So super rich conversation. One of the things that was very heartening is that not just your teachers have embraced the mission, vision, and milestones, but your administrators, in considering key performance indicators, looked at the things that were up there that we are trying expressly to measure more than a standardized test, that we grow every student, that every student's social and emotional well-being is important to us, that they are holistically growing individuals, and how do we fairly represent that? And so both the high school and the elementary, the feedback was we have to do more to represent our students' growth than something that is easily found and reported by a single day's testing. And so a great deal of work on that. So it was a robust summer of work and things that we will continue to process, both in terms of improvements in our facilities and our instructional spaces and opportunities for kids, but also how we measure and track our progress as a district, and the philosophical conversations that are very meaningful that go along with those. So with that, complete the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mike. Questions or comments for the superintendent? Seeing none, we move on to our first public participation. If there's any members of the public who would like to address the board, please do so at the podium. Seeing none, we move on to reports. We've got one report tonight, the strategic plan end-of-year report.
So I actually think Mr. Borkowski and Mr. Simic gave the report for me, so thank you very much. But I will still highlight a few of the pieces and answer any questions that the board might have. I'd also like to recognize that part of your administrative team is here. Renee Fitzsimmons, Director of Innovation, Susan Milsk, Director of Teaching and Learning, Kate Kavanaugh, Student Services Coordinator, and Ingrid Weimer, Executive Director of Student Services. We also have 2 teachers sitting in the audience as well. All are very integral to this plan in action and accomplishing all of the work. We have similar minds, Mr. Borkowski. I was going to go over the exact same things that you did, so I am going to skip them. But the point being is that this is the reason we're doing each of these objectives every year, to get closer to really an unattainable goal. We're striving to something that really doesn't exist, but we're moving towards that vision with each step that we're taking. I actually think we even highlighted many of the same words in relation to the core values. So the strategic plan, it's exciting to think about in August, because starting in June, our team really starts to think about the next year. So we sat back and really reflected on 3 months ago and all of the work that happened last year. We are very, very proud, and a lot of work was done, and we're also very excited to come back in September or October and discuss the next step in that vision and how we're going to continue to move forward and where we're headed next. Some of the successes were the social emotional learning curriculum was documented, targets, scope and sequence, and we decided and purchased a resource for implementation this school year. So all of our teachers and students will have access to the resource, and we'll start to see that implementation in the classroom starting this school year, along with professional development to support our teachers. We are doing a slow rollout so that we can be very strategic in supporting our teachers in the first 2 standards standards, self-awareness, and self-management, and really help train the teachers so that they can support our students. And then we're going to hit the last 2 targets for professional development the following year. We also created all of our K-8 curriculum documents and parent community highlight documents. So those are all accessible 100% to both internal and external stakeholders. And we also have a timeline of which we will continually update those things depending upon, pending there's no federal or state mandate changes, which then may adjust the schedule. We created and branded District 67 co-teaching model, and you supported the district very well, approving 5 FTE this year to implement co-teaching in every single classroom. We had a phenomenal opening day, full day training 2 days ago with expert in the field, Susan Hentz, who's getting our teachers off and running with a great start and allowing access for all of our students in the right setting. We developed and shared 2 versions of the district personalized student profile, and we're also excited to add components to that this year. We're considering personal statements and integrating that into the ELA classroom and how students can write those, setting goals themselves, so we're continuing on that journey. In relation to the inquiry model that Mr. Borkowski mentioned, or project-based learning, we know that documenting and reflecting is very important for our students to be thinking about their learning. So K-8 will have a digital portfolio tool, so every student in the entire district will have an online digital portfolio for them to take snapshots and reflections of their learning, which will carry throughout their entire experience within the district. We reimagined many learning environments through classroom furniture implementation, and we're continuing to do so with science labs. We adopted Discovery Ed Tech Book. We adopted many resources. This is just highlighting one of them, and that's changing the education in the 6/8 science resource. I do want to identify that there were a few areas that were yellow on the strategic plan. Our team is actually very comfortable with that, and the reason being is that we changed direction or course for a purpose. So, for example, 3B, develop and implement common reading assessments. We knew that the Teachers College was coming out with new units of study. We didn't want to write our common assessments before we received those and reviewed them and integrated them into our curriculum. So we put that on hold. We waited for the units of study. Now we'll move forward with the assessments. In relation to 3A, our teachers asked for more training. So for every assessment, we have a standard assessment, a modified assessment, and a retake. So there's 3 different versions. Our teachers said, can you please take this a little bit slower, provide us with more training? We responded with yes, and we'll pick that up this year. And lastly, 3C, the create and implement common unit assessments. We do have many of those done, and many of them are performance assessments. So when Mr. Borkowski spoke about the project-based learning, we're looking for assessments that are more authentic than just a paper and pencil assessment. So we have many of those in place, but we still have to go back and look at our paper and pencil assessments as well, because we know that the balance is important so that we can truly assess the whole child and their experience in the educational setting. Any one of our team members is happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I think through the 3 reports it highlighted there was a great deal of work done last year, but we're not finished, and we're excited to continue on that journey this coming year as well.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Any questions or comments for Rebecca or the outstanding team of folks behind her?
Quick question. The documented curriculum,
Yes.
where might parents and others find that information?
That is a great question. It is on our website under the Teaching and Learning Department, and it is the first tab on that website.
So they would go to LFschools,
.net.
right? So there'll be communication and link, and it'll be clearly on the website where people can go.
And that will be also shared at the parent information nights.
Great, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Well,
Thank you, Rebecca.
I have just one, just a thank you, frankly, from an education committee perspective, and Suzanne, if you want to add to this, but, I think this year, first of all, the tool that we've been using to capture and formulate and finalize the plan has continued to evolve and get much, much better and much clearer. So thank you for that. Susan, thank you for that as well. And then just the work and the time and the energy and the effort that goes into not only achieving these, but reporting on them, putting them in language that's understandable by lay people, has just been wonderful. So I want to make sure, Rebecca, not only to thank you, but Susan,
The whole team.
everybody. It's like everyone's at her. So, but you guys have done a wonderful job. And from an education committee perspective, it's been actually fun to listen and feel like we get it. We're not educators, but Suzanne is. Yeah, Suzanne is. I'm not an educator, but I feel as if I'm not being talked down to, and that you guys are helping to bring us up as a part of this discussion. So thank you guys very much.
I would echo what Jeff had to say in terms of gratitude for the work that goes into this ongoing process throughout the year. And I would encourage community members who are saying to themselves, what's happening in our schools, what's going on, to actually take some time and look at this report, because you will suddenly go, oh, wow, a lot is going on. And I really think there is so much happening, and it can't be reduced down to 3 bullet points. There's just too much going on in our schools, and we have too many incredible staff members working really hard on so many different fronts that you really have to dig in if you want to understand what's happening in this system. And my hats are off to all of you for all the work that goes into it. And like I think it was Mr. Borkowski who said earlier, our schools look very different than they did 5 years ago. I'm amazed at some of the transformations that have taken place and the amount of change that's been implemented in what leaves people feeling like we're just going along. And we are not. And I can see it in the results for my kids and the experience that my younger children are having versus my older. Not that that wasn't a good experience, it just, I can see levels of richness and learning that are happening that are vastly different.
I'll leave with 2 sentiments. I agree with both of you, and Susan and I both thank the leadership of the board and the education committee, because I think we have a nice flow as well. And you ask great questions and challenge us in the right spot to make the strategic plan and vision stronger, so thank you. And then this is a truly living document in this district. We have 50 teachers who participate and see this before it goes to print at the education committee. And I think the 2 teachers sitting in the audience, people know, understand, connect to, and are invested in this work. So this is truly what we're doing and what we're living and breathing. And that's why it's okay with me if we have a story to tell on why we might not have met a milestone that we tried to achieve, but we listened to both the students and the staff and the community and changed directions. So I'm just excited that everyone is so highly and invested and involved in this plan. So thank you.
I have a couple kudos to give here. Unless, Mr. Borkowski, you have questions for Rebecca? Continue. So one of the things that is necessary for a strategic plan to work and for the organization to change and evolve, as Mrs. Sands mentioned, is that your staff have to be up to the challenge and up for the challenge. And I can say unequivocally that we should just be so proud of our teachers and of our staff, because it really doesn't matter what seems to come their way. It's like, yep, this is good for kids. We can do this. And we're going to make this even better than it already is. And so it's really gratifying to look out and see, again, nods like, yep, the administrators believe in the teachers. They see it. That's one of the first things that I heard when I got to the district was, man, I'll tell you what, we just really have committed people here. And we also have a very, very talented administrative team. I look out, and whether it's Susan or Kate or Renee or Ingrid or Rebecca or Ann or others that aren't in the room, we are in a really, really good position to implement deeply and meaningfully the things that we, what's that? Jen. Oh yeah, Jen's over there though. Yeah, right. Yep, and Brittany and Eileen and Ed, you're doing a great job on the camera. Yep, and Ike, you are taking this all in. Yeah, so we're in a really, really good space, good place, and it's gratifying to be able to say that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you. We now move on to board committees. Our first report is from the Board Education Committee, chaired by Jeff.
The Education Committee has not met. Our first meeting of the school year will be on October 12th at 8 a.m. right here in the West Campus.
Thanks, Jeff. Next up is Board Finance and Operations, Tom Ford.
We have also not met, and I've been a little remiss here, so I don't even have our next meeting date. I think it's October, but I will get that for you all quickly, and we will post it, and it will never, ever happen again. Thank you.
Questions for Tom? Policy Committee, chaired by Kent.
And Board Policy Committee never takes a month off. We did meet on August 9th at 7:30 in the morning, and we discussed numerous items that are actually appearing on the agenda today for first reading. They involved, I believe it was Policy Issue 98, 5-year review of various policies so we could update them, collective bargaining agreement changes in policies, kindergarten policies, which with the changes in our kindergarten system have to be updated, and we'll have further discussion during the meeting today. Thanks.
Thanks, Kent. Questions for the policy? Compensation Committee, Rob.
Compensation has not met.
Joint Shared Services Committee has been quite active the last month or two as we have finalized the details for the superintendent contract extension, which we will be voting on later tonight. Moving on to the liaison reports, NSSCD, Suzanne.
So NSSCD had a special meeting on August 7th I can't remember that was May or June that we first found out, but Jim Fitton, the previous CSBO at NSSCD, resigned his position to take a position in another district. And then his number two in his department, his business coordinator, also resigned shortly after that. In a business department of 5, that was a big deal. So in an effort to fill those positions, it became clear that filling them with permanent employees that late in the game was not going to be possible to find the right fits. So the superintendent, Dr. Schneider, and his team worked very hard to find a solution, and the special meeting, the purpose of the special meeting was primarily to agree to hire these 2 people, Yasmin Dada and Asif Dada, who are going to be filling those positions, working part-time for the district, doing the work of the positions, working part-time. I can send anyone more information. There was a little bit more information about the details and who they are in my report. And then there is an employee who is retired from NSSCD who's going to come back and help do some work in the business office as well during this time. Kurt and his team and the Leadership Council all feel very good about the plan. It gives them time to strategically look at what the business office needs to do and what their needs really are, and make some appropriate hires down the road and be much earlier in the hiring season next year.
Thank you, Suzanne. Any questions?
Sorry, 2 more things. NSSCD had their opening day on August 16th, and I got to speak at it. It was a great event with all of them at Highland Park Country Club. And then I had sent some information to everyone. Over the summer, the Illinois State Board of Education announced that there will be some procedural changes made to how IDEA flow-through funds and preschool grants are allocated and distributed. What happens now is they go to the cooperative, and the cooperative gets them back to us. I was just told recently at the meeting that I was at NSSCD that since that announcement, now there's some, wait, how are we really going to do this? How is this going to change the logistics? So stay tuned, and I will continue to update you as we know what happens with that. Our next meeting is August 29th at 7 p.m.
Question for Suzanne on NSSCD? I had one. The 2 folks that you said are hired, are they related?
Yes, they are. He
that's
is
the-
her,
that's the
yeah,
answer.
he is her, I think, brother-in-law. Apparently, what I've learned in this process is this particular family has a lot of people who work in the school finance industry in the state of Illinois.
Fair enough. Any other questions for NSSCD? Thank you, Suzanne. Legislative Liaison, Tom Ford.
No report.
Spirit of 67, Suzanne.
They have not met yet.
Executive APT, Jeff.
They have not met over the summer. The first meeting will be September 12th.
Any other liaison reports that I may have missed? We now come to our second public participation point. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the board, now is your opportunity. Please, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Robin Serafino. I'm the Vice President of the LFEA, and I'm with Krina Lassard tonight. We want to welcome you guys as well, and all of the community out there on behalf of District 67 and the teacher members of the LFEA. First, we want to let you know what a wonderful, truly wonderful administration that you have working on all of our behalves. Unprecedented support, research, and execution has taken place over these past couple of years. I've had a chance to observe such administrations in other school districts, and truly this has been a whirlwind experience, but one in which has been amazing benefits. The most important of these has been the increase in communication between teachers, faculty, staff. It's been critical. Second, we are also here to bring a voice in light of that improved communication and transparency to the amazing teachers that you have in this district. They're the boots on the ground advocating for what is best for kids and how does best practice actually play out in the classroom, not only for the children, but also for the families of those children. In light of the amazing mission and vision that has been spoken of by the school board and by the administration, there's a third prong that is missing. The prong of we have our judicial system, we have our executive system, but we also need our legislative. And we have decided as the LFEA to be present as a participant in this triad. We find that by having this professional organization participate on a regular basis, it will be an extra support to provide the counterbalance, and it's a triad that will guarantee success for these future plans ahead. It's also to improve communication at all levels as to, again, what's happening, boots on the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. We've had a lot of thanks tonight, and you probably heard on Monday when I welcomed the staff, thanking the staff. I want to thank both of you, Robin and Krina, for your leadership. There are many reasons that this district is doing great things. And one of them is what I believe to be a wonderful partnership between the school board and administration and the LFEA. So thank you for your leadership on that. We now move to our action items. First action item, may I have a motion to adopt the resolution to display the fiscal year 19 tentative budget?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the 2017-18 fiscal school calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Just want to let you know it's the final school calendar, not the fiscal school calendar.
The final. May I have a motion to approve the final school calendar for 2017? Thank you. Is there a second?
Still second.
Is there any discussion this time? Roll call vote, please.
Sorry about that. Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Title I District Plan as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions on the Title I District Plan?
Who writes this every year?
Susan, thank you.
I feel bad for you. And B, you did a great job. I mean, you did last year. It's really, this is fantastic. Nice job. It's a lot of work, obviously.
Other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the new multi-year 2018 through 2022 Lake Forest Elementary School District 67 performance-based superintendent agreement between the Board of Education of Lake Forest Elementary School District 67 and Michael Simic, contingent on the approval of the 2018-2022 superintendent delineating agreement by the Lake Forest High School District 115 Board, consistent with Section 10-23.8 of the Illinois School Code, and that the goals and objectives have been met by the superintendent of the previous agreement, with a 1.75% salary increase included as discussed in executive session. Is there a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Comments or discussion? For the purposes of the public who may not understand anything I just said, we are voting on a contract extension for our superintendent for an additional 4 years. He is a shared service employee between District 67 and the high school, which is District 115. And so the next motion will be something called the delineating agreement. The two districts share him as a resource, but District 67 actually owns him. That's what we're voting on. Any other comments or discussion?
I quickly should just mention that it does require both boards to approve. That language is in the contract, and that's very important.
Correct.
When I vote in favor.
Yes. The motion we just made does include the contingent that we're going to vote on this, and if we approve it, it is contingent upon District 115 also approving it. Any other comments or discussion on the contract extension for Mike Simic? Seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please? Eileen?
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next long-winded motion is related to what's called the delineating agreement. That's the legalese for what the District 115 Board will also be voting on for their share of our superintendent. So may I have a motion to approve the multi-year 2018 through 2022 performance-based delineating agreement between the Board of Education of Lake Forest Elementary School District 67, the Board of Education of Lake Forest High School District 115, and Michael Simic, contingent on the approval of the superintendent delineating agreement by the Lake Forest High School District 115, consistent with Section 10-23.8 of the Illinois School Code, and that the goals and objectives have been met by the superintendent of the previous agreement. Is there a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the delineating agreement? Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mike. Next up, may I have a motion to approve the administrator-teacher salary and benefits report as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the admin teacher salary and benefits report? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, may I have a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for weekly grounds maintenance service in the amount of $1,597. and 0 cents. I'll reread that. May I have a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for weekly grounds maintenance service in the amount of $1,597?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? I'm glad it's 1,000, not a million.
Can someone just kind of just let folks know what we've done in terms of working with the city?
Sure. We previously worked with the city to provide our grounds maintenance program. We do not have any of those staff that handles our grounds. For the last few years, we've been in a shared service agreement with Lake Forest High School to provide that service to us. However, they did have some difficulty securing seasonal staff this summer. So we first attempted to outsource it to a third party. We did not get very many bids that were responsive to our request. We re-engaged with the city to see if, again, they might be willing to provide those services if they had the staff and equipment available. We were very happy with their service previously, and so we were able to work in an agreement with them. It's at very similar cost to what we paid the high school on a very similar type of maintenance basis. They will mow all of our grounds on the required basis going forward. So, and we have it stated as a weekly rate because depending on the growing season and how early our spring is and how wet it is and when the snow flies, but we'll pay that weekly amount.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of Press Issue 98, 5-year updates and collective bargaining agreement updates?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of Policy 6:30, Organization of Instruction Update?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Well, I'll just,
Oh, go ahead.
this policy, the only change to this policy versus what's currently in the policy manual is the elimination of a subheading talking about kindergarten. That'll be addressed in in another policy in a minute.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of Policy 6:92, Instruction Update?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion?
This is the kindergarten policy that we approved last year that we have changed to reflect the fact that we have moved to a free full-day kindergarten program. And we also make sure that we acknowledge the fact that the district will offer a half-day program if there are requests by at least 20 children/families in the district as a whole.
And Jeff, again, to clarify on it, with the 20 persons that would petition for half-day kindergarten, that would meet at one school versus individual schools?
So the school code says that if within the district, if there are at least 20 parents or families, or I assume that applies, if you have a set of twins, perhaps one family might have two people that it counts for. But if you have 20 families that ask for or request a half-day program on its own, then we have to offer that. However, according to our legal counsel, the district reserves the right to determine whether that program is held at one particular school, whether that's held at multiple schools, and to decide which school building would house the program. And it would then be up to us at that point to decide how we would handle transportation and what requirements. We're not required necessarily to provide busing, from what I understand. Is that correct? But so it would need to be discussed at that point. But the district has the ability to determine how that's going to be or where that's going to be managed.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of Policy 3:50, administrative personnel other than the superintendent update.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
All right.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution for incurring debt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution to prohibit sexual harassment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the human resources items as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We now move to the consent agenda. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of a board member. I will now read the items on the consent agenda. Approval of disbursement, payrolls, and financial statements, June 2018. Minutes of a regular meeting and workshop, June 26, 2018. Minutes of an executive session, June 26, 2018. Minutes of a special joint board meeting, July 19, 2018. Disposal of audio recordings, September 27, 2016. Would any board member like to have any item on the consent agenda removed? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novit?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. FOIA requests. We had 2 FOIA requests in the last month. The first was from Seamus Quinn, commercial, status complete. The second was from NBC Universal, also commercial, status complete. Announcements, Wednesday, August 22nd, tomorrow. First day of student attendance, grades 1 through 8, which are full day. Monday, August 27th, next week, is the kindergarten walkthrough, followed by Tuesday, August 27th, a half day of kindergarten attendance, followed by Wednesday, August 29th, which is the remaining half day of kindergarten attendance, which is indeed followed by Thursday, August 30th, the first day of all kindergarten students. We then have Monday, September 3rd, no school, which is Labor Day, and Tuesday, September 25th, our next Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. right back here. May I have a motion to adjourn the Lake Forest School District 67 board meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.